ABC 10 News at 11 starts now.
The Republican-led effort to recall Governor Gavin Newsom now has enough voter signatures to force an election. The Secretary of State's office reports more than 1.6 million validated voter signatures were submitted, but there is still a long way to go before we see a special election. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Steve Atkinson. Our ABC 10 News reporter Mimi Alcala explains what happens next.
California's counties will have until April 29th to report the final number of verified signatures. I spoke with a UCSD professor about the next steps in this rare process. Critics of California Governor Gavin Newsom hit a goal of collecting enough signatures for a recall election. The California Secretary of State's website, updated Monday, shows officials have validated more than 1.6 million signatures. That's about 130,000 more than the minimum requirement. Newsom responding by tweeting an ad with a message saying in part, "This Republican recall threatens our values and seeks to undo the important progress we've made, from fighting COVID to helping struggling families."
So the next step is that we get to hurry up and wait.
Thad Kauser, a political science professor at UC San Diego, says voters will have a 30 business day period to request to withdraw their signatures if they want.
And also to give the state time to come up with an estimate of the cost of the recall.
After that, if there are still enough valid signatures, the lieutenant governor sets a date for the recall election.
Setting a date between 60 and 80 days past the date of verification, and then we hold the election.
Voters will answer two questions on the ballot.
Voters first decide whether to keep Gavin Newsom or not. It's a yes or no vote, and that is decided by a simple majority. Then at the same time, voters choose between any of the candidates who have qualified to replace him. And that winner is decided by simple plurality, whoever gets the most votes.
California hasn't seen a recall since 2003 with then Governor Gray Davis. Kauser says with the economy now rebounding and COVID-19 numbers down, Newsom has a pretty good chance at staying put, although anything is possible.
Right now, the recall looks like a long shot. But if there's anything we've learned from the past year in American politics is that we can see rises and falls, and we can't tell today what's going to happen months from now.
Mimi Alcala, ABC 10 News.
Former San Diego Mayor Kevin Faulconer, San Diego businessman John Cox, former Congressman Doug Osee, and reality TV star Caitlyn Jenner, they are all among the Republicans who plan to run. That list is expected to grow. And for the first time in history, California will lose one congressional seat on Capitol Hill. That's because of the results of the 2020 U.S. Census. The seat will cease to exist after next year's midterm elections and will likely be taken from the Los Angeles area. On ABC 10 News at 5, we spoke with USD law professor Craig Barkas about what redrawing the congressional districts will look like.
California is one of the states that has an independent commission that redraws the map. And so we can, and there are some pretty strict rules on, both parties being represented on this commission and independents being represented on the commission. And so California would try to draw these districts rather fairly, I think.
California will also lose one electoral vote from 55 to 54 in the 2024 presidential election. California has had 53 congressional districts since the 2000 census. Before that, it had gained 7 seats after the 1990 census found huge population growth throughout the 80s. President Biden will also address the pandemic during his first address before a joint session of Congress this week. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi extended the invite, asking the president to, quote, share his vision for addressing the challenges and opportunities of this historic moment. President Biden is also expected to talk about the massive infrastructure legislation that he's been promoting. President will speak Wednesday night. ABC 10 will carry his address live at 6 p.m.
She was a young, vibrant girl who had her whole life ahead of her.
Tragic and inconceivable. A 29-year-old woman killed after someone jumping from a parking structure landed on her. Our ABC 10 News reporter Anthony Pura has more on the woman whose life was suddenly cut short.
Officials have identified the woman killed as 29-year-old Taylor Cawley. I spoke with her boss and friend who is taking her death incredibly hard. She says Taylor was like a daughter to her. A memorial downtown marks the site of something horrible, unthinkable, and tragic. It was here that 29-year-old Taylor Cawley died Sunday night.
I am pretty much a complete mess because it was like losing a family member and a daughter, and she was my everything.
Laurel McFarland of McFarland Promotions says Taylor worked with her for more than 8 years. Taylor started out as an intern when she was 20. The two grew closer over the years.
I know you're not supposed to love your employee, but I did.
Laurel says Taylor was on a date Sunday evening. Police say a man jumped from the top of a parking structure near J Street and 10th Avenue, landing on Taylor. She died at the scene. The man who landed on her was rushed to the hospital but died there. He hasn't been identified by authorities. The man Taylor was with was not hurt. Laurel remembers watching Taylor grow within the company, but also as a person.
She became just a confident young woman, what you hope all young women become.
She says Taylor had planned to celebrate her 30th birthday this weekend with her friends and her father, who she was very close with.
She always said how thankful she was with her father.
She says Taylor is also an organ donor, which she says is a testament to her big heart and desire to give. And while many try to wrap their heads around what happened, Laurel wants Taylor remembered for her life and not her death.
That's all I want, is that it's not this tragedy. She's so much more. She's just an incredible human being that touched so many lives in so many ways.
Anthony Pura, ABC 10 News.
And if you or someone you know is struggling, the San Diego Crisis Hotline is available 24/7. That number is on your screen, 888-724-7240. Turning now to our weather, it was a cold and rainy day. We're not done with that wet weather quite yet. Our meteorologist Angelica Campos is standing by with a look at what's ahead.
Hi, Steve. We get to see a few breaks in the clouds, of course, giving us a glance of the moon tonight. But a few showers are still going to be possible. And as we look at our pinpoint Doppler live, you can still see a little bit of green showing up. So let's put this in motion and get a little bit closer to give you an idea of what is happening. It is still green in Alpine and Escondido, just like it's been most of the day. But I want to put this in motion so you guys can actually see some of the showers we've seen over the last about hour, 2 hours or so. And you can see one of those moving just north of La Jolla through Poway, making its way into Lakeside, now making its way east into Alpine. We'll continue to watch for the chance for a few more showers developing overnight and into tomorrow. The wind advisory will stay in effect for a little less than an hour. It'll end at midnight for our deserts. But even though we had a cool and wet start to the week, there's a big warm up on the way. And I'll have more on that in our 7-day forecast.
We're here. We're going to help you. You're going to make it. Just breathe with me. Breathe with me.
The words of the medics who saved the life of one of the men wounded in last week's shooting spree in the Gaslamp. A valet was killed and 4 others were hurt Thursday night before police captured the shooter. Our ABC 10 News reporter Jennifer Kastner got a first-hand account from the medics who jumped in to help.
These 2 young men credit their life-saving skills to their time served in the military.
We saw the guy shooting at the people. We just took a few steps back. We didn't know what's going on.
Shai Gino on the left and Dvir Benesh are former soldiers who served in the Israeli army and now live in San Diego, where they work as home remodelers. Just after Benesh finished his DJ set Thursday night, they saw the shooting and ran to help a man who'd been struck.
We put a pressure on his chest. We said, everything is going to be okay. The ambulance is going to be right here. We're here. We're going to help you. You're going to make it. Just breathe with me, breathe with me.
Monday, police released the names of the recovering survivors, including 68-year-old San Diegan Stephen Ely and 3 men in their 20s from New Jersey, Vincent Gazani, Alexander Ballas, and Jatil Kodati. One of them reached out to Gino from the hospital.
He texted me this morning that he's okay and he's super grateful and we saved his life.
Part of that text reads, "If it wasn't for you, I don't think I would be alive." Unfortunately, 1 man did die, 28-year-old Justice Bolden. Bolden was a valet employee for the Pendry Hotel, working for Ace Parking. Police said that 32-year-old suspect Travis Saraste shot him before taking off and shooting the 4 others in what SDPD believes were unprovoked attacks. Court documents show he pled guilty to an assault-related misdemeanor from 2018, where he was ordered to serve probation and not have guns. And he has a current warrant out for a business license felony. The suspect is now in custody, facing murder and attempted murder charges. Jennifer Kastner, ABC 10 News.
After an 11-day pause, vaccination sites in at least 32 states are once again administering the Johnson & Johnson one-shot vaccine with new FDA fact sheet warnings about the risk of extremely rare blood clots. The CDC concluded the vaccine's benefits do outweigh the risks. Of the 8 million doses given, the CDC says 15 women have suffered blood clots, though the vaccine was never conclusively linked to the clots. Officials across the country are now working to overcome overall vaccine hesitancy, with one poll showing nearly a quarter of Americans are leaning against getting any type of COVID vaccine. And the county reported 129 new cases today, while the test positivity rate stayed low at 2%. There were no new deaths reported. That's typical for a Monday, so that number stands at just under 3,700. A former Chargers player could get more than $1 million settlement over an incident with San Diego police. Cornerback Mike Lee claims that 2 officers injured him while arresting him in the Gaslamp back in 2017, and that those injuries cost him his job at the Chargers. He was cut just 5 days later, having never played a game. The city attorney did agree to a $1.3 million settlement. The city council will vote whether to approve it coming up tomorrow. The Sweetwater Union High School District is giving its interim superintendent the full-time job. This is video from tonight's school board meeting. Dr. Moises Aguirre is in the back row, second from the right. Tonight, the board voted to promote him. Previous superintendent Karen Janney was fired after a state audit found evidence of potential fraud in the district's finances. Aguirre has been with Sweetwater since 2015. He had previously worked for San Diego Unified.